Here is an easy way to rearrange equations. It may not be the way you've learned in algebra, but this way will get the answer right and will allow you to rearrange the equation for what you're solving for, so you're not left asking, do I divide or do I multiply? Do I subtract? What do I do? And so you'll know every time what you're supposed to do, and you'll always know whether you divide or multiply and won't need to ask me or your teacher. So there you go. So let's just pretend we're starting off with a very basic formula, and we'll say it's x equals y divided by z. Okay? Now, in your problem, the word problem that you're going to get is going to say, da, 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 what is the value of y? Whatever the question is in your problem, that's what you're going to be solving for. It'll say, what is the, how many of, what is the value of, what temperature is it, whatever that question is, that's what you're solving for. So we always start by circling what we're solving for. So in that case I just mentioned, what is the value of y? So we're going to circle y. Alright, easy enough. Now after we circle y, first thing we do is we put up a fence. We say every equation's got a fence. And the fence separates the left side from the right side. So there's always two sides to an equation. Where the equal sign is, you put up a fence. Everything on this side of the fence is the excuse me, is the left side. Everything on this side of the fence is the right side. Doesn't matter whether it's on top or bottom. It's the right side on this side and it's the left side on this side. Okay? So you've got a left side and a right side. After we get our left side and right side, we put a cross up to separate the top from the bottom. Okay? So now we have everything above the cross is on the top, everything below the cross is on the top. So everything in this square here, this quadrant here, is on the bottom. These two are on the bottom, and these two are on the top. They're on top of the cross. Okay, simple enough. So we have our fence. Everything over here is on the left, everything over here is on the right. So basically we have four parts now. We have top left, bottom right, top right. Four parts. Okay? After we put our fence and our cross up, we got to ask ourselves two questions, right? These are the most important two questions. We ask ourselves, is it on top? And is it by itself? Question mark, okay? What's the is I'm talking about? The thing I circled, whatever variable I was solving for, whatever variable had that question next to it, I'm asking myself this two questions. Is it on top? By top I mean you put the cross up, is it on the top of the cross? So is y on top of the cross? Yes, in this case it is. So check, I'm done. Done with that, right? We can move on to the next part. We're halfway done. Then I ask myself, is it by itself? Is it by itself where? Is it by itself on its side of the fence? So on this right side, is it by itself? On this whole right side of the fence, is it by itself? Now is it right side? Not is it by right side? Excuse me. Now is it by itself on the top little corner up here? Is it by itself on this entire right side? Right? Don't just look in the corner in this quadrant. Look on the entire. That's why we put the whole fence up. Fence goes the whole way. Is it by itself on the whole side? No. We got the z right here. Now here's the key. You can move any variable anytime you want to. Anytime we want to in an equation, we can move it if we're using this method, as long as we move it two times. And by two times, I mean from one quadrant is 1 to the next quadrant is 2. And whenever I move it, I have to move it to the opposite spot. So for instance, z is in the bottom, is on the right side, so I move it to the left side. I just moved it once. Got it? Z is on the bottom, so I move it to the top. Now I've just moved it twice, and now z is up here. Right, I can do that anytime I want. Z, I can move any variable anytime I want as long as I move it twice. I had to get rid of z, right, because z is on the side of the fence that I don't want it to be on. It has to be is it by itself. So I move z two times. I move it once, it's on the right, so I move it once to the left. It's on the bottom, so I move it once to the top. Anytime I move a variable, I rewrite the equation. So I've got z x equals y. Put my fence up, put my cross up, ask myself the two questions again. I circle y because that's what I'm solving for, so make sure you circle it every time so you remember what you're solving for. Is y on top? Yes. Is y by itself? Yes. Both cases. So now this would be my equation. So now on my problem, I'm going to find whatever it says z is, whatever it says x is, plug it in and solve for y. Y is always going to be your question mark, your unknown. All right, let's try it again. So it's the same formula, x equals y over z. This time, the problem says x is worth 20, y is worth 30. What is the value of z? All right, so we're solving for z this time. Again, cross. Put my fence up, put my cross up. The fence goes right on the equal sign. The cross goes right where the divisor is. And remember, there's always an invisible 1 down here, right? You can put anything over 1 and it's still going to equal itself. So I ask myself the two questions. Is it on top? Is z on top? In this case, no, right? We got to get it on top. So how do you get it on top? You got to move it 2 times. It's on the right, so I move it to the left. It's on the bottom, so I move it to the top. That's 2 times, right? This was once, this is twice. So I get z up here now. Anytime I move a variable, I rewrite it, rewrite the whole equation. So I have z, x equals y, solving for z here. I rewrite the equation. I put my fence and my cross up every time. Ask myself the two questions again. So every time I move it, I rewrite it. Every time I rewrite it, I ask myself the two questions again. Is it on top? Is z on top? Yes. Check. Halfway done. Is it by itself? Is z by itself on its side of the fence? Answer, no, right? We got x. I can move x anytime I want, right? As long as I move it twice. It's on the top, so I move it to the bottom. There's once. It's on the left, so I move it to the right. X goes over here. You also may notice that you can go the opposite way. You end up in the same spot. It's on the left, so I move it to the right. It's on the top, so I move to the bottom. You're going to end up in the same spot either way. It doesn't matter which way you go. Go whichever way you like first. But you got to move it 2 times. You can't just move it once. You got to move it twice. I just moved my variable, so I need to rewrite the problem as we do every time. So I have, cross that out. So we have z equals y divided by x, right? Fence, cross, circle. Ask myself the two questions. I rewrote it. Every time I rewrite it, ask myself the two questions. Is z on top? Check. Is z by itself? Check. I'm going to use this one to solve. Okay, that's it, guys. 2 questions. Anytime you move a variable, rewrite it. You can move a variable anytime you want, as long as you move it twice. And whenever you rewrite it, make sure you circle what you're solving for and ask yourself those 2 questions again. You're going to get it right every time. That's it for now. Thanks.